I'm Brian Bender, and let's queer up the USA View. Arizona GOP blocks library repair funds over past drag Storytime events. House Republicans have denied federal funding for repairs to the historic Copper Queen Library in Arizona after concerns were raised over the library hosting drag Storytime events in recent years. The funding request submitted by U.S. Representative Adelita Grijalva sought $650,000 for maintenance and restoration work at the Rural Library in Bisbee. The proposed funds were intended for building repairs, including roof and floor restoration, and not for programming or events.
House Republicans just stripped funding from this local library because they hosted 2 drag events. Hi friends, Adelita Grijalva, your congresswoman representing Southern Arizona, standing in front of the beautiful Copper Queen Library here in Bisbee. This library is a cornerstone of this community. It's a place where families gather, students learn, and people across rural Southern Arizona access critical resources. And yet Republicans on the House Appropriations Subcommittee on Agriculture just stripped nearly $650,000 in funding for this library that our office fought for. Why would they do that? Not because this project lacked merit. It's because funding would have gone towards basic repairs like fixing roof, restoring floors. They cut the funding because the library had hosted 2 drag events over the last few years. This library hosts hundreds of community programs every year. This is an assault on our trans community and everyone's First Amendment rights to have open, accessible spaces where people can learn, gather, and express themselves freely. Public libraries belong to you, to all of us. No community should be punished because House Republicans disagree with the programs the library has hosted. I'll keep fighting to restore this funding and stand up for Southern Arizona communities like Bisbee. Thank you.
Of nearly 24 community projects submitted by Grijalva for funding consideration, this was the only proposal denied. Grijalva accused Republicans of targeting the LGBTQ+ community and using the appropriations process to punish public institutions that support inclusion and free expression. Located in Southern Arizona, Bisbee has long been recognized as an LGBTQ-friendly community. In 2013, the city became the first municipality in Arizona to legalize civil unions for same-sex couples. Grijalva says she will continue pushing for the funding, arguing that, quote, denying access to a public library based on identity is a violation of the Equal Protection Clause under the 14th Amendment, end quote. You know, I don't see any other way of really framing this. The library is being punished because they hosted 2 drag events, and they want to let the Republican lawmakers want to let the library and the community know who's in charge, and don't ever do this again. And guess what? You're not going to be able to, because we're not going to give you the funding that you need to keep your building open and up to code. Mm-hmm. You know,
and it's a sad commentary because people like this are using retaliation as a weapon, and it comes down from our most senior leader.
Well, our most senior leader, who is 80. How old is he now? Our senior leader? 80 something?
Well, maybe who knows his true age.
Right. Oh gosh, now we're getting conspiracy theory. It's a terrible day when the good folks of rural Southern Arizona cannot access a public library, you know, and it's all because they hosted 2 drag events, whether you agree with drag queens reading to children or not. And you know, there's a case to be made, I guess, on both sides. It's like, why do drag queens need to be reading to children? And the other side is, why not? Because they're fabulous. So I could see it both ways. If you don't want your child to be read to by a drag queen, don't bring your child to a drag event at a public library.
Yes. Life is full of choices.
And if you do want to have your child be read to by a drag queen who wants to enrich their lives and make them fabulous and sparkly, then take your child to that event. The thing is Republicans are all about small government, but not about small government when it comes to what they perceive to be moral issues. They think it's immoral that people that are born male dress as women, as entertainers, and read stories to children and entertain. So they want to classify that as something other than it is. They want to call it porn. They want to call it degeneracy. Sure. They want to,
you look at pre-colonial America or pre-colonization of most countries that are modern today. that was, two-sex people, whatever you want to call drag, those types of genres. It's been around since the beginning of time.
We've gotten very rigid in our Western mentality. And I'm not saying that the West is bad. We have a wonderful canon of literature, tradition. I get all that. But, tradition is one thing. And also, there's always been drag queens.
Yes.
There, during Shakespeare's time, the women on the stage were actually men in dresses,
Yes.
Entertaining the masses. There's always been gender bending. There's always been, fun times to be had, wearing a costume, having it's so silly. Arizona, Republicans in Arizona, Republicans writ large, get your act together. Really, this is really what you want to do. This is the hill you want to, I don't want to say anything with any words that could be misconstrued, but this is the hill you want to go up. It's like, get a life.
Yeah.
Really, get a life.
Well, hopefully they can find maybe some private donations or funding to get the
Hopefully.
necessary repairs. And again, their goal is just to keep the library probably safe and up to code and a pleasant place to learn and enjoy, good books. There's no other. Oh, go ahead.
I just want to say, I would love a drag queen to read to me because I don't like to read books. I like people to read to me. I have an Audible subscription. I have a Spotify subscription, and I love when people read to me. If any drag queens, if you're in the comments section, please let me know when you're available. I'll give you my WhatsApp. Read me some stories. That would be really good for me. I would like that. So.
No, it sounds like a great potential career out there too for all our drag entertainers out there.
Absolutely.
It might open up some things. Drag Audible, a whole new division.
Right, like ASMR, when they make those clicky sounds and stuff. If that was a drag queen doing it, I bet they would be fierce and fabulous with the acrylic nails and the stilettos and the...
Bring it on.
Yeah,
Bring
absolutely.
It on. Well, there is no other queer nonprofit media platform like this in the entire world. Support our LGBTQ stories by sharing them and subscribing to Queer News Tonight. That's good. We could have a whole